Hi, everyone. This is James Giglio, CEO of MVP Interactive, and welcome to the MVP Podcast. Our podcast will bring insight to a range of topics involving technology, consumer engagement, experiential marketing, and general business-related subjects. This show will host not only our great roster of clients from the professional sports world, along with Fortune 500 brands and agencies, but other entrepreneurs and startups. We hope our podcast brings value, and thank you for listening. For general inquiries or topic requests, please email mvppodcast@mvp-interactive.com, and please subscribe to our YouTube page and follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and SoundCloud with account name MVP Interactive. Welcome, everyone. This is the MVP Podcast, our, in fact, inaugural podcast here, where we are speaking with Senior Manager with the field marketing team of the New York Red Bulls, Michelangelo Parisi. Did I say that properly?
You did.
Okay, fantastic. So today we're going to talk a little bit about fan engagement technology. The New York Red Bulls, for those who are unaware, are a MLS soccer team founded in 1994, originally named the New York and New Jersey Metro Stars, a little fun fact, and then a few years later were acquired by the Red Bulls and rebranded in 2006 as the New York Red Bulls. Fascinating new stadium was built in 2010, which is a beautiful facility that we were fortunate enough to not only participate in some fan engagement activities, but also experience a game day, which is unlike no other in MLS games, which was a pretty fascinating experience. As we'll talk about, we produced some pretty cool virtual reality content that Michelangelo here today is seeing for the first time in a headset, which he's very excited to kind of bring out through your off-field marketing events, I guess, right?
Yep.
And the Red Bulls do a great job with fan engagement, as well as I mentioned. I think they were leaders in the fan engagement award with Major League Soccer. So we were able to produce a pretty fun 360 selfie video production for fans that was a highlight of the fan appreciation game. Is that correct?
Yep, our Supporters Day.
Thanks so much for coming along. We're really excited to have you. As I mentioned, Michelangelo is the senior manager in the field marketing division for the Red Bulls, and so would love to hear a little bit more about your background and what you do with the Red Bulls, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. It's been awesome to work with you and your team and everything that MVP Interactive has been, leading the charge on in the sports tech world. And we're definitely going to benefit from it, and we look forward to working with you guys even more. My background has always been in sports business, specifically in media and marketing. Graduated from NYU with a concentration in media and marketing and got a bachelor's in sports management. Started my career with the USTA, the United States Tennis Association, where I was in media and corporate communications. Then worked my way over to Madison Square Garden, where I was in public relations for sports properties. And then moved on to a sports apparel and accessories company and was a sports marketing manager there, leading all of our grassroots efforts, our partnerships with retailers and other sponsorships and partnerships that we had to bring awareness to our products. And then now, I'm fortunate enough to be with the New York Red Bulls, a team that I followed, as you mentioned earlier, as they were the Metro Stars, and in my backyard growing up. So I'm very fortunate to be able to work for a team that's right in my backyard, and a team I followed for so long, and do what I love and really create awareness and for a particular for our organization. And yeah, right now for the Red Bulls, I oversee all of our grassroots marketing strategy, events, our match day fan zone, which you mentioned, that we call the Boulevard, along with some programming inside of our beer garden on match day. So I genuinely appreciate marketing itself, the storytelling behind it, the experiential programs and integrated partnerships that come through a lot of different properties and elements of marketing strategies, and then creating just a favorable public image, really, to particular property, or in this case, the Red Bulls, and really bringing that to life for sports fans, consumers, and others, out there in our greater New York area.
So let's talk about that a little bit. So the Red Bulls, the brand as a whole, is really known for its experiential sort of marketing campaigns, and it's a very forward-thinking brand, obviously, with activity sports and being an energy drink. They're forced to really push the limits with marketing engagement. So tell us a little bit about your experience maybe working with Red Bulls as an organization, and how they value marketing versus other companies that you may have worked with, or can you talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we're fortunate that we put a lot of our effort into marketing the team and building awareness of our club, compared to a lot of other professional franchises that may not either have the budget or put that in the forefront, because they may not need it, or they just like I said, might not have the budget, or utilize their resources elsewhere. I think for us, being one of 11 professional franchises in New York is very difficult. And it's something that we need to be doing. So we put a lot of effort into marketing and becoming relevant and staying top of mind. The Knicks, the Rangers, the other professional clubs in New York are known, right? So they might not need it. They have a brand. They have a household name. Some people, that we come across may not have been to a Red Bulls match before, and we need to really tap into those other consumers and sports fans and really get them to see what we have, what our product is, what that experience would be like for them and their families, or what the young professionals and millennials, to come out and enjoy, a night out or an afternoon out on the weekend. So we really do put a lot behind it. And for the second consecutive year, our club earned the highest ranking in the J.D. Power Fan Experience Study in the New York designated market area. So we scored basically the highest amongst any 67 teams across the 11 U.S. markets.
Wow.
Including the 11 New York teams. We were judged on 7 categories, which range from ticket purchasing to security and ushers, seating area, game experience, food and beverage, and game arrival. So for us, that's very important, something that we hope to continue and hope to lead the charge on year after year. So really putting a lot of effort behind that this year, and a lot of our plans, which I'm sure we're going to discuss, include evolving that, how we continue to push the envelope and really bring that to life for our fans.
Yeah, no, it's that's great to hear, because one of our experiences that whether it be in the press or maybe sound bites from ownership groups and organizations constantly talk about fan experience, and the definition of what that means per organization really has ranged. And so obviously, selfishly, from a fan engagement standpoint and a technology company, we really see that technology opportunity with the engagement pieces, whether it's virtual reality, augmented reality, experiential marketing, all of that good stuff. So, from our perspective, we've been banging on that drum for about 5 years now, and it's nice to work with organizations that value it much more than putting in just a jumbotron and calling that the game day experience, right? And not to say that there's anything wrong with that, but because you do want to factor in every aspect of the game day experience, and a jumbotron does play an important factor in all of that. So I think working with you guys has been equally rewarding, in the sense that it's a forward moving organization, and you're just not a soundbite, and you really focus it from a campaign and a branding goal to win this award. And excuse me, what was the name of the J.D. Power?
The J.D. Power Fan Experience Study.
Fan Experience, okay.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, like you said, technology is everywhere, and there's so many ways to digest the game, watching the game, and there's sports teams around the country that are continuing to push the envelope through experiential marketing, through technology, through these types of engagement. So really, working with you guys has been awesome. Creating the virtual reality product itself, the morphing stations, and other 360 selfie cams, things that are different, really, that people may not have experienced before, or maybe they have, but it's something that unique to that their eye that they haven't done participated in, and they want to share on their channels, and really, amplify kind of awareness through their channels for us, for the brand, for the club. Like that's rewarding. That's, that's a win for us.
Yeah.
And every time we evolve that, we never want to have a static, fan experience or something that's very repetitive and unique. But, the happy fans come back, happy fans tell their friends, and then, sponsors want in on the fun and are willing to pay and get involved and, really amplify and create, even better experience for themselves. So yeah, I mean, that's something that we hope to continue to push the envelope in and really lead the charge on. And, the next step is really spreading awareness for that in itself, right? Like, how do we not only spread awareness for the club, but now through this virtual reality product that we've been working on with you, we can take to market through all of our events, through all of our partnerships, through all of our programs that we're running, through our marketing plan, and really bring that to life. Show that to consumers. Hey, this is what you're missing. This is what's going on.
Yeah.
Have you seen this before? This is the whole match day experience. This is our pregame. This is our fan zone. This is our beer garden. Come have a beer. There's live music. Like, we're really putting on an event that's more than the game. And that's something that I think is important, that we can try to continue to tell that story.
Yeah, and I should note, and I do apologize at the beginning of the show, that we did not introduce Gavin Rennick, who is our virtual reality director and lead. So on that note, I thought it was a good segue that we can hear from Gavin, in knowing that he's been a part of all of our previous VR productions, whether that's in and out of sports. But Gavin, maybe talk to us a little bit about, what your viewpoint and experience was like doing this production, because you kept referencing during our filming that this was you felt more in tune, or at least interested
definitely.
in, this production versus some of the things we've done in the past.
Oh, definitely. You talked about, Michelangelo, you talked about your sort of like, I guess, connecting the dots as far as having like a full experience for fans. Your fans would come there, and it's really not just about going to see a game. It's about actually having it's an outing in a sense. You have these little bits of experiences that sort of lead from one experience to the next, and ultimately you end up at this game. And while we were filming the VR piece for you, I definitely got that. You can really feel it. You can feel it in there. And me personally, I was actually really getting into it. Which for me, it's like we've done quite a few of these. We've been to tons of different stadiums. We have a lot of great clients, in sports. But for me in particular, I kind of almost felt a little bit more in tune to what was going on with the Red Bulls, mainly because of how that was set up and the structure of that game day experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. We hope the same for other fans and people who have never been to the arena or the game to feel that same way. That first connection, that initial impression is key. And
absolutely.
now, like you're saying, you got into it right away.
Totally.
And you know now, if you ever were in a conversation or you wanted to come back or you would invite a friend, that's the experience. That's what you're going to look forward to.
Exactly. Like literally, it's like James probably didn't see this, but like I was texting with a buddy of mine who's a big soccer fan, and I'm like, dude, we have to come to a game.
That's awesome.
You would love it here. It's great. So
I'm curious for James, because when we had our initial meeting, we did the walkthrough. It was during business hours during the week, and there wasn't any sort of kind of commotion, any fan zone set, our boulevard that we call our fan zone set up. And then when you came on match day, you were like, oh wow, this is complete. This is a different place, right?
Absolutely.
And to get your take on kind of what your thoughts or kind of initial impression were.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's almost, like that I spoke to earlier in the fact that you experience these game day events, and it's so nice to see an organization really put their money where their mouths are, so to speak, and, seeing the transformation of what a quote off day 9 to 5 facility looks like, to see the complete revamp during the Boulevard. And it's a great runway, if you will, for these activations. And then just both pre-game, during game, and post-game, whether it be fireworks or in-game promotions, things of that nature. So you really have taken that holistic approach to all those touch points, as you said. There's a million ways to consume a game or even the experience. So I think more and more that when facilities and organizations take the approach of, okay, you know what, you can't take fans for granted anymore. They're very smart, they're savvy, there's tons of other consumption models out there. We need to create this Disney-like destination, if you will. And Disney could be a strong word in terms of, let alone roller coasters and all of that good stuff. But the fact is, whether it's a $20 ticket or a $100 ticket, you need to provide that service to your fans and your consumers that they're going to feel like they have maximized their spend. And I think whether this is pre-event, during event, and regardless of how well the team is performing, because that's the big factor, right? In terms of, the asset on the field is obviously the most important one for any organization, but you have, from a marketing perspective, very little control on how they perform on field. Right. So worrying about everything else outside of the performance it was really rewarding to see, and again, work with an organization that focuses on that and truly does, because like I'd mentioned, there's a lot of talking heads out there, and they'll say the right things, but you just don't see it.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a lot of other professional teams in our area and probably across the country. You guys have worked with them, in itself, and I think that's kind of the next thing is a lot of these teams, even if they're well known, if they are a household name, such as the Rangers, Rangerstown, and that whole experiential kind of programming, and that
also great clients, by the way.
that I know you guys work with. So, but now there's a lot that everyone kind of is putting around building out that programming, right? Building out that experiential feel to really hone in on that experience and. That relationship building really with their fans, right?
So let's talk about sponsorship, and as we all know, that is a very key component in any professional organization. And what has your experience been like, knowing that the Red Bulls as a brand, very forward-thinking, even again referencing this J.D. Powers Fan Experience Award? Have you been able to leverage those successful activations or fan engagements to tie sponsorship, and maybe talk a little bit about what that looks like for your organization?
Yeah, absolutely. So our marketing partnerships team has done an amazing job from building relationships with partners and sponsors to kind of get on board and help really get on board with what we're doing, what our mission is, and what we're looking to accomplish. Sponsors truly do want that reach, that outlet, that engagement with fans, with consumers. So we have a ton of sponsor presence through our fan experience, and it's because of a lot of them that we are able to put this on, that we're able to kind of keep up and evolve and continue to push the trends and try different elements out, try different activations, and test what works. From live music to a virtual reality headset to a 360 selfie cam to our DJ and freestylers to some of our sponsored activations. Continuing to evolve that and really get them, help them engage and leverage some with our fans, but it's all encompassed within a bigger deal. Yanmar, for example, is present on the Boulevard. Through our fan zone, we have different partners that really help leverage what our engagement opportunities are like. Through 3v3, through our one-touch activation, which requires you shooting into a net, different locations at different, as many times as possible under 30 seconds, or an accuracy upper 90 challenge. So a lot of this stuff is really, it focuses on soccer, the authenticity of soccer, but really allows the sponsors to kind of get involved and get in front of our fans. Yeah. So our marketing partnerships team does a great job and working closely with them is really developing what are our new kind of activations, what are our new elements that they can provide or kind of put in front of these sponsors, right? Like that, are they going to buy into this? Do they come to us and say, hey, we have this idea, we would like to try it out? We're open to it as well. Really, how can we build that relationship, those partnerships that we can kind of together, accomplish our goal, our mutual goal.
Yeah.
And feel that, fans are engaging and kind of have a positive experience.
Yeah, the one other thing that I had noticed is, and I think this is a big concern for both sponsors, clubs, as well as fans, and how they view sponsorship in terms of being too in your face, too corporate, because you're going to have loyalists or enthusiasts of the Red Bulls brand that just wants to remain loyal to the team. And one thing that I found pretty striking was that you were able to seamlessly blend both sponsorship branding, the activations, all under the Red Bull brand as well. And there was no mistake that, sure, Honda could have a presence there, but it wasn't just about Honda. It was a nice tie-in.
Yeah.
Even the aesthetics and the build-out and all of that good stuff.
That's important. Yeah, sometimes when you go to these events or you go to these games and, they have some sort of experiential village or fan zone, it's very colorful, right? You have all these different colorful, brands and properties with their logos very prominent. And it's not very cohesive, but this is our property, so this is our brand, and together we kind of have a template, that we follow that encompasses, our sponsors' logos and the placement of where they're featured and how, they interact. So we try to do our best to make it seem like, cohesive feel, to the eye, to the brand, but it's really, the brand first, and then, our partners, right next to us, right on board with that, and how they blend in within the, kind of the color and the theme of what we're looking to accomplish.
Right. So, obviously, talking a little bit more about technology, whether this is forward-facing fan engagement, are there anything that the Red Bulls are doing now, leveraging maybe mobile or any other technology that you can speak to?
Mobile is obviously something we all see is growing very fast, and we are definitely tapping into that. So I think we do have plans to launch a mobile app for the team, which will help streamline a lot of the ticket processes, a lot of announcements and team news and so forth. Really on a match day, finding out where different locations might be, and encompassing that kind of experience again overall through that app as well might help the fan adjust to schematics of what they aren't aware of for the team, and it's an ability for people to get real-time updates on the game, but then also news and media. So that's something that our team is working closely on, and I think it's hopefully going to be launched into 2018.
Okay, so up until this point, you haven't been leveraging any type of mobile engagement or app?
Through our social media outlets, but other than that, we didn't have an app. No, we don't have an app, but we are working towards that.
Got it.
So it's something that is important for us to continue to evolve, with the times and really get streamlined too. Now USA Soccer came to Red Bull Arena for their World Cup qualifier game against Costa Rica, and the entire match was mobile ticketing. So now we're seeing a lot of other professional teams also, with a similar approach where you might not require a hard ticket anymore, but through their app or through mobile ticketing, email, whatever the case is, it might be the easiest way to streamline who's coming into the match, right? So now who's coming in, who's entering through mobile ticketing. And then obviously when you come scan in, you get a little printout of your receipt kind of, and it'll show you where you can show the ushers where you're seated. But yeah, that initial entry point of mobile ticketing, I think is gonna be more common in all sports, all sports teams and franchises and events, because now properties and brands and teams will actually be able to track who's coming into their stadium. They'll be able to capture that data. And that's going to be huge. Everyone wants to know who's coming through their arena, whether it's for the first time, it's for the 17 games throughout the season, or whatever the case is. But that's going to be huge. I think that's going to be a component that a lot of teams start to leverage.
Yeah. Especially you had referenced the the competitiveness of just your geographic location. You know, you're not only on the outskirts of the world's largest and most exciting city. With that, you have multiple sports properties, and not to mention that I guess there's 2 new MLS area teams. Is that correct?
City FC and the New York Red Bulls.
Okay.
2 MLS clubs in New York.
Okay.
Yep.
And
So that rivalry has grown. It's helped us as a club. It's helped them as an inaugural. Their inaugural season was 3 years ago now. Mm-hmm. So that rivalry has really helped both clubs really kind of come to life in New York and really show the presence of soccer in the sport in New York. So it's been good. It's been exciting too.
Yeah.
And every time that comes around, the MLS, the league puts a lot of effort into bringing that to life, whether it's through broadcast or throughout the city. So no, it's been fun. It's an exciting time.
So that's great. I mean, I love to hear that a new challenge brings an opportunity, right?
Sure.
And so you have that competitive sort of posturing at first when, with any business where you see the new kid on the block looking to, nip at your heels, so to speak. And, but when you can embrace it as an opportunity to really set yourself apart and kind of, really position yourself as the leader or the expert or what have you, it's a great opportunity. So with that, talk to us a little bit about maybe some of your off-game marketing efforts and what you guys do there. And you had mentioned your street team with the Ballers there, and I understand that you guys have a mobile tour as well, or at least pop-ups.
So we do a lot in market. Like we partner with and we sponsor a few different events to our own and operated events. From our 5v5 tournaments throughout New York and New Jersey that we host, to youth soccer festivals throughout New York and New Jersey, to partnering with the major adult leagues, the major adult soccer leagues in New York and New Jersey as well, and really building those relationships through those consumers, right, and who's participating in the actual sport, to facilities, so soccer facilities that are hosting pickup nights, pickup soccer nights or leagues and so forth, and really getting awareness through those channels as well, to a lot of third-party events. So we have great relationships with the Steve Nash Foundation, and he hosts an annual soccer showdown in New York City every year. So that's
Very
just
cool.
one example of something that we get behind and we really support and we activate through. So that's a good opportunity, and there's a ton of that. In New York City parks we work closely with to, a lot of their, whether it's a 5K marathon, a 5K run or, event, to a kids gathering or a holiday festival. We really try to be present, and really identify kind of what our goals are, and then target where we're going to partner and where we're going to be present at. Because there's no shortage of opportunity of where we can't be. So there's a lot, like I mentioned, there's, from the kids aspect to the adult aspect, and everything in between. So, right now our goal is to win the 18 to 34 demographic, and what does that consist of, right? Like how are we going to do that? So really narrowing down kind of our plans and going deeper into that. So we have a whole pub partner program, so building relationships through different pubs, right, and creating those away from arena experiences for away matches. So when we have an away match, we really our fans are still gathering. We still have that experience that we're catering to, and that we're bringing to life through our pubs. When we're during the off season, we're hosting Red Bull runs. So it's a sponsored pickup that everyone can come out to and play pickup. And we elevate that experience through the facilities and through partnerships with our DJ, our freestyle crew, and our freestyle crew is one of the most valuable parts that we have. From a marketing perspective, because they allow us to expand our footprint into the market. So, from charity events to seminars to, like I said, our owned and operated events to, just sending them out and into the market, setting up, just the populated areas in New York, creating a show, a performance, and really getting the normal, New York City, person, or, people who work in New York or people who live in New York, really gather and kind of stop and watch, right? And kind of be like a showstopper and kind of see what they're doing and what they're bringing to life. And through them, we're able to tell a message. So if it's, our theme nights or special theme nights that we have going on at the arena, if it's, a rivalry week game, if it's, some sort of message, a sales initiative, something that we can help promote through them, they allow us to expand our footprint. They allow us to communicate those messages through, their performance, through their outreach, and they're nimble, right? Mm-hmm. So it allows us to stay nimble and really get in front of different audiences. Depending on our plan and our approach of what our goal is, if it's a, autism awareness night, we'll work with autism, awareness 5Ks and conferences and seminars and so forth, and get them out there for, perform, get people's minds off the conference, get their minds off, something different, but, show that we have a message. We're working with you to help lift that message, through our game, and how can we work together to kind of build that up. So, Todos Juntos, which is a Spanish heritage theme night, targeting different Latin and Spanish heritage type outlets, right? And how do we get our freestyle crew in front of them? So we partner with like the Ecuadorian festival, the Portuguese festival in Newark, New Jersey. There's a variety of different properties and events that allow us to expand our footprint beyond just our arena. And that's important for us, again, to stay relevant, 12 months out of the year, and really show that the New York Red Bulls are relevant. We're a club in New York. This is our territory, and we want to provide that experience, that engagement constantly.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and a whole lot of information that I was not previously aware of in terms of your community outreach, which is awesome. And it just goes to show again that you're taking this well beyond the game day experience and building that brand affinity and really tying it into whether it's the community, soccer enthusiasts and things of that nature. And so, I think this could be a good segue into maybe your recent trip overseas, and we can talk a little bit about how clubs and organizations here in the United States focus and what they need to do for this fan engagement versus maybe the game day consumption of other European leagues. And so I guess a couple of weeks ago we were going through some of your edits and on the VR side of things, and you had mentioned that you had taken both personal and professional trip over to Italy to catch a match, and would love to hear more about that and maybe some of your findings, again, both personally and professionally, in terms of how different the game day experience is in Europe versus it being here.
Yeah, it's truly night and day, and it was an awesome trip. I love Italy, not just because I have family in Sicily, but because it's a beautiful country and just the food is amazing. Yeah. But the trip was very, very. It was a very good trip, despite Inter Milan losing their first loss of the season when I was there for the first time. Is kind of disappointing, but nonetheless, it was very, very cool to observe kind of the culture and kind of the holistic event day, the match day of what they what that looks like, how that works, and it's very unique. I mean, the culture, there's a big culture difference from the European soccer kind of consumption versus the American one, and a lot has to do with how they're raised and what the club, the organization means to them personally. The European leagues and teams have been around for 100 years. So it's part of their DNA, essentially. It's something that's represents not only like who they are, but the region they might be from. So Inter Milan fan. There's two teams in Milan, AC Milan and Inter Milan, and half the city is going to be one of those. Majority of the city is going to support one of those two teams. So and that's the same for you can say the same for Barcelona and Real Madrid and Vial, and the other Spanish teams that are in Madrid and Barcelona and in Spain. But yeah, I mean, it's part of who they are. It's part of who they the team represents, the region, the city, and in some aspects the country, right? When you go to Champions League, UEFA Champions League, and you're in the finals, you're not only representing the club, but almost the country of that club, right?
Sure.
So it's a big deal. And no, there's a big difference, even just from, I mean, the way it's consumed and talked about, to the match presentation, to the just the way it's consumed. They're raised with it. They speak about it 24/7. So when they're on the subway, when they're with their family, their friends, they're at the coffee shops, they're getting their hair cut. It's almost like a lot of people talk about fantasy football.
Right.
Essentially that's their football. That's their bread and butter. That's what they do. And that's how they consume it. The American soccer culture, despite having the highest participation rate in probably the world, that might be a bold statement, but I'm pretty sure USA has about 24 million youth soccer participants, and that might be because we're a larger country. But that's mind blowing. That we have that many, and then what happens to that? Where's that disconnect, right? Like how do those 24 million youth soccer participants take that pride into the sport as they grow up? But overseas, you're seeing it because it's part of their culture, it's their DNA. Here in America, I feel like
football is that for us almost,
Right.
Like maybe the old American game was baseball, and then more recently it's been the football, and then you also have hockey. Like there's a lot to consume, there's a lot to do and see, and no, it's interesting to see that over there, soccer is their focal point.
Sure.
So
and it's almost this, like you can break it down into just very simple buckets, right? In the European passion, it's almost like nationalism versus consumerism here in the United States, right? We are a culture of consumerism, and so we kind of, our daily life is looking to acquire purchase experience, where it sounds like much of the consumption over there is more pride, nationalism, where are you from, geographic location, and the allegiance to that.
100%. I mean, it 100%. It's funny because, here almost every, I don't want to speak boldly again, but like you can say, probably make an argument that every arena or sports franchise has a jumbotron, right? Is that safe to say? In Europe, they only recently have gotten screens or jumbotrons up in their stadiums, and they're not even jumbotrons; they're smaller scale screens, and they don't show the game on those screens.
Wow.
Pre-match, they'll show the field, they'll show warm-ups, they'll show fans, right, celebrating and cheering. When that match starts, there's no stream on those big screens. The eyes and focal point are on the pitch.
Wow.
Or on the game. So there's no replays. There might be for a goal. I don't quote me on that. There might be for a goal or something special, but there's no replays for a close opportunity, for a commercial ad during the match, or for a partner, right? Like there's no seat upgrades. There's none of that, right? It's very focused on the game. You come. You're not here in America. You go to a football game, you go to a soccer game, you go to a hockey game, and so forth. You go, you grab a beer, you grab a bite to eat. You're eating in your seats. You're hanging out in one of the lounges or the clubs, right? These fancy, luxurious like sections every arena now has, and is trying to create. Over there, your eyes are on the pitch. Mm-hmm. No matter if you're in the suite or a skybox or whatever the case is, your eyes are on the pitch and you're there for that game.
Yeah.
And you're consuming the action, firsthand. They have a few guys walking around selling beer or, crackers and so forth, but it's not like it is here.
Yeah.
At halftime is your time to get up, use the restroom, grab a drink, a bite, whatever the case is. And what's something else that's really unique is that they smoke inside the stadiums too.
Wow.
So they're able to, sit down. They, like I said, they're focused on the game, and they might just light up a cigarette and just watch the game. And that's what they're doing.
Amazing.
So it's really interesting to see.
Yeah.
It's a tradition. It's part of, who they are and
culture,
how they're raised, and their family and how they're brought up and who they're attending with,
It'll be interesting from an ownership standpoint, how if we were, if we were to able to get two soccer club owners, one from the United States, one from Europe, and how they value,
Right.
that opportunity where it's like, you know what, we just need to exist and we're going to be popular, and, we just concentrate on the product on the field, where here, ownership has to worry about their stadium. They have to worry about social media. They have to worry about technology and all of that game day experience that we're talking about. It would be interesting to see, how it would be individually valued or challenged,
Yeah, definitely.
if you will.
Yeah, no, it's something that is interesting, even from a partner standpoint too, right? I mean, these clubs, like we've been talking about experience, fan engagement, experiential kind of marketing plans and strategies. Only recently has that really evolved into the European culture, right? And it's not even really being adapted or consumed to yet, because a lot of these clubs, if you can talk about Inter Milan, AC Milan, Juventus, Barcelona, some of the top tier teams that are, everybody knows about, they're powerful brands. So, when a sponsor is on board with them, it's not like they're getting access to a fan zone, right? Or a seat upgrade, or a lucky row giveaway, or, all these different types of elements that American culture and football, soccer, NHL, and so forth have, but they're partnering with the brand, with the club, at that level, and their deliverable, their asset is the team. So, as soon as their name is affiliated with the club, it's a powerful image. It's a status standpoint where they're now being known that they're affiliated with that club. They might utilize an athlete or two for a commercial, an advertisement. They have the rights to use, the team jersey and logos and so forth with their, from their, marketing strategy plans. But there's really not much of an experiential fan experience standpoint for sponsors to really engage with the European culture. And only recently is that really starting to develop. That I was finding out, on the big match, right? Like the finals, the rivalries, and even that isn't being impactful because it's not part of the DNA. It's not part of the culture. So they're not programmed to come early. They're not programmed to check out what else is happening at the stadium. Like I said, their focal point is the match. The pit, their eyes are on the pitch.
Yep.
So they're arriving when they're used to arriving, and it'll take some time for that to start developing for that. But because there's a lot to consume in the American culture, I think that's why it's so important that each team, each sport is starting to really hone in on creating this match or this game as an event day, right? Really bringing that to life holistically, because it's something that fans want to do. They don't want to just buy a ticket to watch the game, but they want to experience a day, right? Like what else is going on that they can post pictures about, that they can see and do and kind of just experience, right? That's something fun and cool. Right. There, it's not necessarily part of the culture, and that's not, it might take some time for really the sponsors and fans to really start to adapt to that and what that means, but they're not going to get away in the way of the team, of the sport. Right.
Now that's interesting though. Given that Red Bull as an organization is a European organization, do you see any opportunity that you could have this sort of reverse trend where, you have the American football or soccer club driven by a European brand kind of bring the opportunity to Europe to say, hey, Germany, this is how we're doing it here. And have you seen any level of that?
Yeah, some of our affiliate clubs, like Red Bull Leipzig, Red Bull Salzburg, they have minor fan experience and game day kind of engagement opportunities that they have. One of the clubs has a mascot. So there are some things that they have started to do and that they do kind of execute on, but we get calls. Yeah, we get calls from other MLS clubs and other teams, and for what we're doing, and how we really put on that experience, and how from even the freestyle crew that I spoke about, what that program looks like, and how we launched that, and how that's structured, and what goes into that. A lot of teams, and I think that's something that we'll start to see too is like, you know, having an influencer, having a host, right? Having a host or ambassador to the brand is something that a lot of teams and clubs and properties will probably start to have. Like influencer marketing with brands and products exploded, you know, 2 years ago now, and has been a big thing. And now I think, you know, we'll start to see that in sports, right? So you'll have, you know, e-games, right? Esports and e-games is big now. So, you know, some clubs and some teams are starting to sign esports athletes, right?
Sure.
And gamers and all this, and you know, having a host. So Toronto FC has a host, you know, which is funny because European you know, culture, most of the teams, the larger scale teams, their PA announcer, their host is on field during warm-ups, during pre-match, and making announcements right there. So you know, right on the field. You know, he's not upstairs in a booth and kind of just directing announcements outside. But but anyway, yeah, that culture, that face, that recognizable face, that person that fans can go to or kind of just know is their ambassador, right, for the club. And but yeah, we get calls all the time about, you know, how we can evolve, or how we've evolved, and how, you know, we can help other properties and brands do the same thing.
That's great to hear, because you're always interested to know on the inside if, despite how competitive the matches are or the game, how collaborative the organizations really are with each other, whether it's marketing or other engagement points. So knowing that you have led this fan experience charge for so many years, it sounds like the league has taken notice, and some other clubs have taken notice and say, hey, you know, what's your best practice? What about this? And can you talk a little bit more about that and what that's like?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's on the field. Everyone, you know, it's a heated rivalry between each club, but the MLS is you know, operates as a single entity, you know, structure. So they essentially, you know, have rights and ownership over all the MLS teams. So you know, together, you know, there's a revenue share. There, you know, that is you know, in play with, you know, different sponsorships, broadcasting, you know, and so forth. But the, you know, everyone, you know, is you know, works together to kind of understand what each market is doing, what works, what didn't, you know, how to evolve the experience, and kind of you know, some of the programs, some of the teams have similar programs. You know, there's a lot of pub programs that I spoke about earlier, you know, that each club or most clubs have, but each one is different, you know, so each structure is a little different, and each structure might work to a different market. So, you know, when I'm speaking to a few marketing reps from, you know, New England Revolution and Houston Dynamo, Chicago Fire, you know, their price points are different, their experiences are different. Toronto FC also, but they're all different. You know, they're structured differently, they're activated differently. But we share ideas. We share, you know, what worked for them and why, and you know, is this something that we could take to New York and try it out? Will it work there?
Sure.
So yeah, it's definitely, you know, there's resources available to each club, you know, helping one another, but on the field is a whole different dynamic.
Oh, yeah.
On the
Yeah,
field
absolutely.
is
As
a
it
different
should be.
animal, but,
Right. As it should be.
Everyone wants to raise that cup at the end of the year. So,
Right.
But no, I mean, everyone's faced with the same obstacle, right? Which is attendance. You know, how do you drive attendance? How do you drive ratings on television and broadcast, and not just soccer and MLS, but it's every sport now, you know, and every league. So that has to be mindful of that. So,
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that you know, we work. It's a very cool, unique opportunity that we're able to work closely with other teams and so forth.
That's great to hear. That's great to hear. And so, in wrapping up here, are there any initiatives in 2018 that you can speak about, or, you know, some goals for the organization, both on the marketing side, or maybe something that the general public isn't aware of at this point, or whatever you're comfortable with disclosing or what you're able to?
Yeah, no, I mentioned a lot of it today throughout our time, but you know, winning the 18 to 34, you know, evolving our fan experience, which we've been talking about, you know, this whole time, and really spreading awareness and leading the charge for that. You know, our goal is to you know, rank the highest in the JD Power fan experience study again, and get a millennial type young professional audience into the stadium and really experience what that's like. Adapt, that culture of soccer that we would like to kind of bring to life. And it's a lot of just evolution, and I think this year is going to be very big for us. We're launching a new jersey coming very soon.
That's exciting. New kit on its way, Gavin. That means more jerseys for you.
Yep, jersey launch will be coming soon.
More jerseys that fit me.
So there's 2018 is going to be fun. I'm excited. This year we were able to streamline a lot, build a lot of relationships and kind of partnerships in the market that we hope to have again this year, and we'll be able to really kind of bring home that message of what we have to offer, what our product is through the virtual reality headset and the program that we put together. And it's been a privilege working with you guys.
Oh, likewise. Thanks so much.
We're excited. We're excited. 2018.
We're excited. And so today is actually the final edit and completion of the virtual reality experience. So maybe we can talk about briefly where fans are going to be able to experience that.
Yeah, well, we're going to take that with us. Basically through many of our different field marketing efforts, whether it's our sponsored pickup nights that I mentioned earlier that we host, our 5v5 tournaments, our youth soccer festivals, our third-party events, and wherever we're activating. If there's a game or an event that we're partnering with to activate within their fan experience and their fan zones, or throughout New York City, we're going to have that tool. It's going to be a tool for us to show. While fans are engaging and participating in our activation. But hey, take a look at this. Have you ever been to, it's one thing to participate in an activation and kind of consume that type of experience, but how do we bring that our product, which is our game day, our match day, right, to life, and this is going to be a tool that's really important for us to show, right? Because some people may be interacting with us but have never been to a game, and this would be the time. So we hope to show as many fans as possible.
Yeah, well, that's very exciting, and equally it was a pleasure to work with you. And Michelangelo, you've been a great guest on our inaugural podcast. You're welcome back anytime, and hopefully at the start of the new season, we can be speaking about new technology that we're developing for you.
Yeah,
so.
That would be exciting.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.